Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we celebrate Cooperative Month in Kansas as we talk with Brandi Miller, the President and CEO of the Kansas Cooperative Council. We'll also have features from Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, as well as the Kansas Grain Sorghum, and a weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinon. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In agriculture news, cattle producers, like other farmers, generally an optimistic bunch. And one beef industry survey shows 64% of the respondents remain optimistic about the future. About 51% of producers plan to grow their herd size in the next 5 years. Another 38% will maintain their herd size. Now, part of the U.S. still faces dry condition, but the situation is better than this time in 2023. Producers are looking to the future, with 59% say they're planning to add a family member to the operation within the next 5 years. That number was 54% a year ago. While beef cow inventories continue to stabilize this year, the industry could experience a longer transition period as significant risks mute profit signals that would normally jumpstart rebuilding a herd. Rabobank forecasting a stable cow herd between 27.9 and 28.3 million head over the next 3 years. Well, 2/3 of U.S. consumers have used a food ordering app at least once for takeout, delivery, or both. That's according to a Consumer Food Insight report. Over half have used an app for delivery. Nearly half of those say they use an app for delivery or takeout at least once a week. The survey-based report comes out of Purdue University, and it assesses food spending, consumer satisfaction, values, support for agriculture, and food policy, and the trust in information sources. The report breaks down per person weekly food expenditures into three groups: thrifty, those less than $50 a week; the moderate, $50 to $85 a week; and liberal, over $85 a week. Now, most consumers don't seem to mind the additional fees associated with ordering food, though. The survey also revealed that most consumers say they tip between 10 and 19% when they order food delivered. And also, the legislation that would set food and farm policy for the next 5 years is in limbo, waiting for lawmakers to decide its fate after the election. The latest deadline for the Farm Bill passed unceremoniously at the end of September without a push to pass a new one or an extension. Now, Congress does have to scramble for the lame duck that'll begin November 12th to come up with some sort of agreement before the benefits run out at the end of the year. This farm bill, the law began some 90 years ago with various payments to support farmers, but now has an impact far beyond the farm gate. Programs creating things like wildlife habitat, addressing climate change, and providing the nation's largest federal nutrition program. Those delays create further uncertainty for farmers who are facing declining prices for many crops and rising costs for fertilizer and other inputs. That's Ag News. Back with more in a moment. Stay with us. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And joining us now is Brandi Miller, who is the president and CEO of the Kansas Cooperative Council. Hi, Brandi.
Good morning, Ken. How are you today?
Doing well. It's hard to believe, but it's already October, which means it's National Cooperative Month. We've celebrated about halfway through, but I know, and even as cooperatives, they really do kind of celebrate all year.
That is very true. That is true. My favorite month of the year for lots of reasons. Usually it's cooler. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that quite yet. But definitely they celebrate throughout the year and try to really step up their game in October.
Let's talk about, I'm sure people have heard of a co-op, cooperatives. Depends on where you are in the state. Many of us, first thing that pops into our mind is those grain elevators, those grain terminals all over. But as we get further in different parts of the state, more populated, it may be a food cooperative or other things. Tell us about all that.
Absolutely. So you're correct as far as a lot of folks call them the skyscrapers of the rural part of the state, but Kansas actually has a lot of different types of cooperatively structured businesses. Some folks don't recognize or realize that credit unions are actually a cooperative business. We do have a couple of groceries in the state. We actually have some cooperative housing, farm credit, and probably the most functional and important, aside from ag, of course, is our friends at the electrical cooperatives that really provide electricity for a large portion of Kansas.
The cooperative spirit is one of not only neighbor helping neighbor, but I believe it got started just as a way to bring together to help folks, have some bargaining power when it comes to inputs, not only for households, but also, especially for production agriculture.
Absolutely. And you live in a rural part of Kansas, and so you understand, I'm sure, a lot more than most folks do. But when we saw the cooperative movement really take shape in Kansas, it was so that farmers could find a way to market their grain collectively and get more value from that. Today, we still see that. I mean, that's still really the function of the ag cooperatives in Kansas. It's economies of scale. It allows cooperatives, allows producers to come together cooperatively and really work together so that they can get access to maybe better prices on implementations of fertilizers and herbicides, pesticides. And it also helps some of those younger producers establish their farming operation by leaning on the cooperative as a partner in their business.
Brandi Miller is the president and CEO of the Kansas Cooperative Council. October is co-op month throughout the state and around the country. So we'll take a break. We'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. And our guest is Brandi Miller, who's the president and CEO of the Kansas Cooperative Council. October is co-op month. Brandi, let's get into the numbers, especially those ag folks that are part of cooperatives in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that there's over 100,000 Kansans that are members of co-ops in Kansas and some of our surrounding states that also have locations in the state. There's over 575 locations in Kansas serving farmers across the state of Kansas, which is pretty incredible. And Kansas ag cooperatives actually employ over 5,000 folks to do a myriad of different things. We've seen that business structure change over time. Almost any job you can imagine, you could probably find in some capacity at a cooperative. And over 5,000 people is more than my hometown.
Wow,
So,
absolutely. It's a big deal, and there's celebrations, a lot of local celebrations. Also, the National Cooperative Association group is making a big push. Actually a national theme for Co-op Month.
there is a national theme, and it's the future is cooperative, and really it's setting up the stage for next year. So there's an international cooperative association, and in 2025 it's the year of the cooperative. And so I think the plan for this year is to kind of preview a sneak peek of what we've got coming for next year, where we're planning to quite a bit of education outside of our environment so people really understand the value and impact that cooperatives have.
Well, co-ops in Kansas, only from grain elevators to grocery stores to other mercantiles to even something like cotton. I know the Kansas Co-op Council was very instrumental in kind of helping guide them to where they are today as far as being organized and being recognized. And so it seems like if you can dream it, maybe a cooperative way might be the way to go.
That's absolutely correct. We are so fortunate to have such great partners in the cotton space in Kansas. And often when I talk about cotton, most people have no idea that cotton is even grown in Kansas. So it's been fun to get to experience that and work with those groups.
Okay, well, Brandi, we sure appreciate the time to spend and we talk about and celebrate Cooperative Month. And like I said at the beginning, I think many celebrate, and there are some special things. And of course, harvest going on kind of helps highlight that as well. So now folks go online and find some more things about maybe some of the co-op things that are going on year round in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. Please check us out on Facebook, Kansas Cooperative Council. You can also find us on our website. We try to post the different activities that not only we are doing, but also our members are doing as well. I just encourage you to go and check in. A lot of folks are very familiar with their local co-op. It's where they swing by most mornings. And so just get involved and find out what's happening in your local area.
All right, Brandi, again, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Ken, thank you. Great to see you.
Yes, thank you. Brandi Miller, the president, CEO of the Kansas Co-op Council, has joined us. We'll take a break and be back with more in just a moment. Stay with us. Don't miss the Grass and Grain Farm and Ranch Show November 5th and 6th at the National Guard Armory in Manhattan. Hours are 9 to 7 on Tuesday and 9 to 5 on Wednesday. Great exhibitors, informative workshops, and Call Hall ice cream given away at 2 each day. Register for $250 in show bucks to be given away both days. Admission and parking are free. Visit the Grass and Grain Farm Show Facebook page or grassandgrain.com.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the soybean checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
In California, decarbonization efforts in transportation and other areas of life are led by the California Air Resources Board. CARB created the Low Carbon Fuel Standard to position renewable fuels as the norm, and that created important opportunities for soybeans. With California consuming 3.5 billion gallons of diesel per year, biodiesel and renewable diesel's near 75% share of the diesel pool is major. More so, the LCFS is expected to continue expanding its carbon reduction goals. However, CARB this year proposed a 20% cap on tax credits for soy and canola oil, a move that could raise fuel prices in the state and cut soybean oil demand by 1.3 billion pounds in 2028 alone. Meanwhile, used cooking oil imports into the U.S. have increased exponentially. In 2021, around 300 million pounds of used cooking oil came into the U.S., but that number reached 2.7 billion pounds in the first 7 months of 2024 alone. With no legal standard on what defines used cooking oil, concerns exist in the industry that these imports are fraudulent or follow the so-called splash and dash. While the California standards and used cooking oil imports are two separate issues, together they present a threat to soybean demand. Ultimately, decreased dependence on soybeans for decarbonization efforts across the nation could impact prices and acres. The National Checkoff's role in navigating these issues is to complete analyses and reports on the exact impact these situations could have on the soybean market. The legislative legwork falls on the American Soybean Association. ASA continues to engage with policymakers, seek opportunities to improve soybean oil's carbon intensity score, and reward soybean usage through tax credits and encourage a set standard for used cooking oil. Clean Fuels Alliance America, funded in part by U.S. soybean farmers, has engaged at every step of the process.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
It's time for another Kansas Sorghum Harvest Update. I'm your Director of Communications and Outreach, Maddie Meyer, and today we're hearing from John Burning, District 2 Commissioner from Scott City.
We farm in western Kansas, Scott County, Wichita County, Lane County. We have started harvest on the western half of Scott County, eastern Wichita County, and really the yields are pretty darn good, actually very surprising. Averaging, I would say, I bet we're averaging right around 100 bushel with everything we've cut so far. Now, once we get more on the east side of Highway 83, it's going to go down drastically. We just didn't receive the rain over there. But, you know, here we are talking about sorghum and mitigating risk. I mean, that's one of the biggest things with sorghum. And that's why, you know, we plant it in western Kansas.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas has a strong agriculture tradition that predates its statehood, and agriculture continues to be a key economic driver in the present as well, as the agriculture industry provides a total economic contribution of over $88 billion to the Kansas economy. This fall, the Kansas Department of Agriculture has updated our website to provide current statistics to show how the agriculture, food, and food processing sectors contribute to the employment and economic impact across the state. And we have provided agricultural economic facts for each of the 105 counties in Kansas, along with those statewide numbers. The statistics include farm numbers, leading agricultural sectors by output and by employment, and value-added data for each county. KDA utilizes facts from the Ag Census surveys conducted by the USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS. Our economic impact data is sourced from the most recent in-plan data available, adjusted for 2024. The 73 sectors of agriculture and agriculture-related industries combine to provide a total direct output of over $61 billion. And when indirect and induced effects are considered, that's a total economic contribution of over $88 billion, supporting more than 260,000 jobs statewide. In addition to the economic contribution reports, you can find our annual Farm Facts publication, which includes data on agricultural production, prices, farm income, and other economic figures. You'll find all of this new data, along with various reports and studies that KDA has published, on the KDA website at agriculture.ks.gov/ag-statistics. Go to Economic Contribution Reports for the county reports, or to Farm Facts for the production data. KDA is committed to providing an environment that enhances and encourages economic growth of the agriculture industry and, in turn, of the Kansas economy.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Kansas State University is joining a new pilot program established by the Farm Journal Foundation to support veterinary students in their career development and address the national shortage of rural veterinarians. The university is one of 9 schools participating in the Veterinary Workforce Solutions Program. According to data from USDA, more than 900 counties across the country are facing shortages of veterinarians, especially those who treat livestock. Only 3% to 4% of new veterinary school graduates pursue livestock or other food animal practice areas, a stark decline from 40 years ago when about 40% specialized in this area. The Veterinary Workforce Solutions Program, backed by support from the Zoetis Foundation, is designed to support veterinary students across several areas, including tackling student debt and financial planning, developing business management skills, and learning how to engage with rural communities. Participants also will get advice from the Farm Journal Foundation's Veterinary Ambassadors, a group of experienced veterinarians and educators who serve as mentors. Brad White, K-State professor and director of the Beef Cattle Institute, currently serves as an ambassador. According to White, a robust supply of food systems veterinarians is critical to rural agricultural production. He said the Veterinary Workforce Solutions Program brings together expertise from a variety of areas to address current challenges and identify opportunities to promote rural veterinary services. To date, the pilot program has reached 450 students. For more information on the project, go to farmjournalfoundation.org.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Think you have to own a tractor to be a Farm Bureau member? Think again. Kansas Farm Bureau is more than just a resource for farmers and ranchers. Its mission is to improve agriculture and quality of life for all Kansans. By supporting Farm Bureau, you're supporting the folks who grow and raise your food. Not only does your Farm Bureau membership create leadership opportunities, educational programs, and community events that promote Kansas agriculture across the state, it comes with great benefits for you and your family. For just about $50 per year, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, home and office supplies, cell phone plans, and much more. You'll also gain access to Kansas Farm Bureau health plans, affordable health care, nationwide coverage, and friendly service. Join us today. Visit ksfarmbureau.org/join to learn more.
Good morning. This is Jacob Herzog with Pinon Risk Management. Now harvest is fully underway, and I hear great yield numbers in general, which was anticipated, and it becomes harder and harder to bet against the national corn yield north of 183. Now beans have some small rough spots, but in general are yielding good as well. The most recent bullish story is China considering injecting stimulus into their top banks. Now this is on top of the previous China central bank interest rate cuts. Now, in theory, this should stimulate their economy and increase demand for agricultural products. This has prompted an increased short covering of positions in a general mood of just get out of the way, just in case. Bulls have also been talking up the dryness in Brazil, which their forecast for the next 2 weeks is well below normal, but rains are expected to come back into the forecast a little by mid-October and be somewhat normal by the end of October. Now, bear in mind that roughly 70% of Brazilian beans are planted between October 10 and November 25th. Low rainfall has also affected the river levels, halting some transportation between some areas of Mato Grosso to their key ports, although it is suspected that most of the grain from those areas has already been moved out. On the wheat front, Sovcon has said that winter wheat sowing rates in Russia have fallen to an 11-year low due to drought in key producing regions, clouding the outlook in general for the 2025 grain harvest. Now, there's a lot of moving parts in the market, and it's all fine and dandy to watch the market go up and down, but plan accordingly and be proactive so that just in case things do turn to the downside, because we aren't quite out of the woods yet. If you would like to talk to somebody about a plan, you can reach us at 888-452-8751. I'm Jacob Herzog with Pinon Risk Management.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
That's our program today. Thank you so much for being with us, and be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. We'll see you next week on the Kansas Ag Report.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.